Hello, I'm Bev Leigh. I'm the Executive Director for the West Alabama chapter of the American Red Cross, and I'm tickled to be here tonight to talk about a coffee table book that we're producing that details the stories of individuals in West Alabama and outside of West Alabama who've been impacted by the Red Cross. That could be blood services, it could be disaster, health and safety stories, anything where you're impacted by uh, the American Red Cross. We're soliciting stories from individuals for a coffee table book that we're going to produce, benefits of which will help financially our local chapter. And tonight I'm asking you to consider, if you're one of those individuals, telling us your story. I'll tell you that personally, I was impacted this April after the storm as a newcomer to American Red Cross. I've been a volunteer for about 36 years, but only on the staff a year, in fact less than a year, when I faced the storm and the devastation that it wreaked on West Alabama. My personal experience from that storm was unbelievable in, not that I was affected physically by the storm, but the generosity and volunteerism that I saw exhibited by my friends and neighbors in West Alabama. We, as you know, we housed 487 storm victims that first evening, and about 300 volunteers showed up the next day to help us through that storm. There are lots of stories out there about how you might have been impacted by Red Cross through blood services, through a transfusion you might have enjoyed at a hospital. Maybe you were a house fire victim. And I've got a couple of those stories I'd like to share with you tonight. And these are true stories. A young lady who's interning with us, the father of her child, was in a terrible motorcycle accident, and she credits singularly the American Red Cross Blood Services for providing adequate blood for transfusions that saved his life. True story. Another young lady associated with Project Rebound here in Tuscaloosa, I was telling her about the opportunity to submit a story, and I was telling her briefly about Red Cross, and she said, "Mr. Leigh, you don't have to convince me about Red Cross." And my family suffered a house fire, and I'll never forget when we came out of the rubble of that house, the first people we saw were Red Cross volunteers there to help us that evening. I'll never forget that. And those are true stories, and ones that both of those victims are submitting for this coffee table book. I hope that if you're listening to this, that you'll consider, if you've had such a life-changing experience or even a moving experience associated with Red Cross, that you will consider submitting a short story, 3, 4, 5, 8, or 10 lines at the most, for submission and inclusion in this coffee table book to benefit the Red Cross.